the way at the Delta. I just saw a balloon.
A balloon? There must be a birthday party. Investigate it immediately.
Confirmed. I'll find the birthday party. There's just a big black dildo.
Oh, so you know all the words.
Just those words.
No. Welcome to our little half Halloween, half Metal Gear. Fear.
Mostly Metal Gear podcast. So, as you all know, Metal Gear The Phantom Pain came out about a month and a half ago, and we've both been playing this game nonstop, like it's our religion. And I just want to make this clear, we're not reviewing the game. We are going to talk about things that we see as pros and cons of the game, but we're not going to give the game a score or review it and say that you should or shouldn't buy it. We're just going to express our personal feelings on what we thought was awesome, what we thought wasn't, and what's going on with this game.
Yeah. So, like, you know, right now it's just me, Luke, and Nick here, and this is just going to be our little Metal Gear chit-chat.
Alright, so,
Phantom Pain, we both beat it within the week.
Mm-hmm. You beat it before I did, and I think I beat it the following day you did.
Like, I beat it at night, and I was kind of, like, getting off the high of, wow, this is the last Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And I saw the ending and was just like, this can't be it.
Well,
it felt like they literally just dropped it. Because when I first put in Metal Gear, like a month ago when I first started playing, it was so good.
It was.
It felt like a movie. An interactive movie.
The first thing that I noticed about this game from the moment I started playing it was just, this is the prettiest game I've ever played. I mean, this game looks good. I know that it's on multi-platforms, you know, being on both previous gen and current gen consoles, but still, this game looks good. Everything in this game looks good. And not only does it look good, but the controls, they are superb. They're nearly flawless. I can only nitpick at a couple little things here and there. But I mean, this game is, from a technical standpoint, this game is very, very good.
It's like, it's got a level of polish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thing is, the farther you get in the game, the more the polish dwindles.
Right.
And it's like, the whole first chapter of that game is fucking perfect.
Right.
Like,
the build-up, the story, just the way it looks, everything. It's just so polished, it's so neat, it's so crisp.
And I'm just trying to get all this out of the way, because we're mostly going to be talking about story today. Because the gameplay isn't broken.
The gameplay isn't
addictive.
Broken. It is incredibly addictive, and even though, you know, I'm not happy with the way this game is supposedly, quotations when I say this, ending, I'm still probably going to be playing this game constantly and still trying to 100% it if I can. But let's focus more on the story now, Luke. Okay, so your exact thoughts when you first found out the truth. Da da da.
Spoiler alert, turns out Snake isn't Snake. Snake's you.
Right, Snake is, in fact, you. Or, more specifically, the medic that was with Snake at the end of Ground Zeroes, opening up Paz. So, basically the story with that is, that medic jumped in front of Snake, saving Big Boss's life, effectively, but mauling himself in the process. So, Zero got the big idea, and this is something that I still don't understand, how Zero kind of just tied into the picture all of a sudden, that helping Snake. Zero got the big idea to hide Big Boss while he's in a coma, to put the medic into a coma as well, and then apply plastic surgery to the medic to make him look like Snake.
Well, I don't know why he wanted to... I can't really put my finger on why he wanted to save Snake. There's probably little details I'm not picking up.
Right. And I think we probably...
It'll happen too fast.
And, like, the most of an explanation we really got for the ending after we found out, after the cutscene where Ishmael is actually Big Boss and Ahab is actually the medic, is that we got the series of tapes, which is called Truth Records, and basically explains, okay, Big Boss knew that this was going on all along, and apparently not only had Zero been working with Ocelot, but Miller had been, effectively working with Ocelot too. And that really, it seemed like they were just trying to get back at Skullface because Skullface was coming at Zero for some reason. I mean, he gives his motive in episode 1 why he hates Zero, because basically he destroyed his village. But I mean, Zero's motive beyond that, it seems like it's been kind of lost why he wants to help Snake all of a sudden.
Well, like, I didn't even... I'm trying to remember Peace Walker, too, because I'm trying to remember what made Zero... Zero is,
Zero is Cypher, and he's also... he's working with the Patriots, or DARPA, or whatever.
No, but in Metal Gear 3, before he was called all that, he was he the commander guy? I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he was Major Tom.
Major Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Snap Trap, Snake.
Yeah, that guy, the British dude that was basically Big Boss's equivalent of the Colonel from Metal Gear 1.
And, like, when I was first playing Peace Walker, I was really thrown off because everybody would just start using the name Zero, but I guess I must have missed something because I was just... They gave him 3 names. I gotta keep track of all these names that he's going by.
There's Zero, I know there's Cypher's one, and the third name escapes me at the moment.
Cypher. Zero. Fuck. Goddamn.
So, how did you honestly feel? Like, I mean, initially when I found out that you hadn't been playing as Snake at all, like, I felt like, fuck, they Raiden us again with this shit. It's just like...
They Twilight Zoned us with this shit.
No, I seriously felt like they've done the same shit to us before with, you know, MGS2 with Raiden, thinking, oh, you're gonna play as Snake. Scratch that, you're not gonna play as Snake. You're gonna play as someone that's actually different.
But at least that's at the beginning of the game and not after everything's said and done.
Yeah, like, they dropped that. It was so jarring, just mentally, just to realize, wait a minute, so I haven't been playing as Snake the entire time, even though I look like Snake and everybody's been calling me Snake.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, I don't mean to sound like I'm butthurt, because, I mean, I don't mind playing as a different character or anything like that, and I don't hate Raiden at all. I was just, you know, I thought Venom Snake was the coolest version of Snake out there. I mean,
right?
I've always been a big Solid Snake fan, but Venom Snake was really, really cool.
We were watching the hero from Metal Gear 3 turn into the villain on Metal Gear 1.
Yeah.
SNES. Or NES, I mean.
And it was just really cool to see him go through this transit, losing his arm, having a robotic arm, having the horn that grows in his head.
Yeah.
The more people... But to find out that that was all just kind of a farce or a phantom or whatever,
yeah.
It's just so jarring, and I don't want to say it's bad, and I still play Snake whenever I'm playing in MGS5 and playing the missions and stuff, but it's just a little dissatisfying to know that you're not actually playing as Big Boss, the character you thought you would be playing as, and the character you were playing as in Ground Zeroes.
We were watching him gain power. We got to experience him gaining power, and we find out it's not him. So the Snake the Big Boss in the next game just went and did all this shit on the sideline.
Yeah.
Like, we don't get to experience Snake's side of things. Like,
well, you know, the whole thing about this too, and this is what I can appreciate by the fact that they made some unknown guy into Snake too. There's a flip side of that coin too. They weren't saying, oh, we're just making anybody. It's like, no, we're making you, the player, into Snake. We're not just simply personifying, you know, anybody as Snake. We're personifying you as Snake now. You're Snake. Even though there's still another Snake, you're Snake now. It's your responsibility to choose how your actions shape the Metal Gear universe, not the other way around. So that's an interesting take to think about, and an interesting direct perspective to look at it that way, as opposed to just, you know, being butthurt, like, oh, I'm not Snake, I've never been playing as Snake. It's like, yeah, you have, you are Snake now, though, that's the thing, that's something that you still kind of have to wrap your brain around, and I'm still having trouble wrapping my brain around that perspective, too, but I know that it is there, and in a way, I kind of applaud Kojima for doing that with the story, as opposed to just, you know, making it normal, because let's face it, fairy tale endings where, you know, you're satisfied and happy with everything, those are overrated. I think some of the best endings and the most overlooked endings are the endings that we don't like, the endings that do piss us off. because the endings that we don't like and the ones that do piss us off, those are the endings that capture our attention the most, you know?
See, if that were true, then Metal Gear 4 wouldn't be my favorite. Like, the ending to that game felt so accomplishing. It had...
Well, this is what I'm going to bring up. There's a difference between... Okay.
So accomplished.
I'm not sure if you've seen The Matrix, but I'm going to spoil it for you right here for the sake of this podcast.
I've seen The Matrix.
Okay, well, have you seen all of them?
I never saw the third one.
Okay,
But-
well, in the third Matrix, there's a fight between Agent Smith and Neo, final fight, and basically Agent Smith has gained this power to turn other humans or programs into copies of himself. And eventually, towards the end of the fight, Neo realizes that he actually can't beat Agent Smith, so he goes ahead and allows himself to become an agent, but by doing so, he's able to break the program because the machines have him linked up to something or other. A lot of story elements aside, but basically what I'm getting at is that was a bit dissatisfying to see, but at the same time, that gave the story of the Matrix closure. All questions asked, everything's tied together. You know what happens. You see, with this Metal Gear, I mean, it's dissatisfying and you don't have any closure either. So you're just kind of, you know, sitting there just looking for more when really there isn't.
There was more stuff we wanted to see. We got to see Liquid as a kid because that was Eli.
Yeah, and we all knew it. Even though, you know, the tapes said otherwise, said, oh, you know, he doesn't share any of his genetic information, but
That's
you find
because
out
he
later.
was a different person.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or that's because the person you're playing as isn't Snakes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's the whole self-hypnosis thing, which I get that Ocelot did with the whole liquid in his arm thing in the second game, but it just seems so much more cheesy in this one because...
Is it because that's back in 1984 and they don't have the technology available to really make it seem that much more plausible?
That's another thing. It's the Metal Gear in this game is way more complex than Rex is. And I'm wondering if that's just because Liquid isn't very tinkery with Metal Gears, or...
I don't know. Or you mean Emmerich or whatever? And that's something else that I'm still kind of trying to...
That's true.
Well, what was Emmerich's role play? Did he actually kill Strangelove? Or did Strangelove kill herself? Because he's saying one thing the entire time, and...
I think he's a pathological liar. But we don't really know for sure. He just kind of goes on his little boat and he's gonna go see... He's gonna kill himself later anyway.
Yeah, he kills himself later in the timeline anyway, so we know how his story ends, but there's just something about Emmerich that I don't think they're letting on everything. Sure, he might be a pathological liar, that's a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
I will give that as a possibility, but I feel like a lot of the characters that were working with him that have been accusing him were accusing him on so much bias that he couldn't help but be pushed into a corner and say things that he may not have meant.
To get home to his family.
Yeah, or lack thereof.
I don't know. I liked Emmerich at the beginning of the game, and I just started to hate him more and more because it turned out he was like sabotaging everybody there.
Yeah.
Like he spread that English parasite into Eli.
Mm-hmm. Well, Eli didn't have the English parasite. He got the English parasite from the third boy, which, even though it's not confirmed, we all know it's Psycho Manus. There's no other character in the series that the third boy could grow up to be, aside from Psycho Manus.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's like, a lot of this stuff in this game is assumption, but it doesn't feel that way. Because it was... It's like they barely hint at it, but they don't hint at it enough.
Well, I think a lot of it, too, is I feel like there's so much story that's been left out. And honestly, you've seen the ending, right? The ending that was cut out.
Yeah. It still didn't satisfy me. It didn't really... It just kind of redid everything the game already did. They already fought Metal Gear. They already dealt with Eli controlling it before. They're just doing it again now.
I get the feeling that if Kojima had enough time to continue making his game Because that's what really I think, that's why there's this big mess that's going on right now with the whole story and the plot of this game, is I feel like a lot of the stuff was cut out and that Konami was pushing to give this game a release date and to oust Kojima. And that's a whole nother topic we're going to get onto, Kojima's relationship with Konami.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
Because that's messy business too, but you can notice in the game that after starting in episode 2, you start to kind of replay a lot of the same missions over, where it's like, oh, I'm playing a harder version of this mission, or I have to be completely stealthy on this mission. I remember back when you played Peace Walker, those missions like that, they existed too, but not in the story at all. They existed in the side ops. Yeah, they were optional missions that you didn't have to play, but they weren't story missions. And granted, too, they were optional in the story mode for Metal Gear V. But at the same time, it seemed like they were...
Oh, some of them were required to do. So it's like, hey, that level you did, let's do it again for the main part of the game.
Yeah, I know which level you're talking about. I think it was like mission 43 or something.
There's like 10 of them. I had to do like a good couple of very hard missions just to unlock mission 46 or 7.
Right, and those hard missions, they were not... I don't want to say they weren't fun. They were fun.
The first 3 were fun.
But they were frustrating.
The first 3 were fun.
Frustrating as all get out.
But like, some of them just got so ridiculous where it's like, okay, I do this if my mother base is a little stronger, but I just kind of want to see what happens in the story
Like
next.
the sniper battle with Quiet, where if Quiet hits you once, then you're dead. Now, you're already going up against an impeccable marksman, but if she hits you once, you're dead. I rage quit so many times on that level that I just...
She can hit you twice if you're running sometimes. But...
Oh yeah, she can hit you if you're running, if you're sprinting. Basically, the only way I got through that mission is that I had to leapfrog behind cover and stuff like that, so she couldn't hit me.
But like, I'm the whole hypnosis thing. Like, Miller and Ocelot are sticking by, not Snake, Venom Snake, whatever, your character throughout the whole game, and it just ticks me off that out of nowhere, Miller's just like, the boss can go to hell. I'm gonna help out Solid Snake.
I'm gonna help out, his clones and his Phantom as much as I can.
That's what I'll do with my life. I'll get my PhD.
Well, and a lot of that doesn't seem to make...
Why is he getting so mad out of nowhere? It's like, you love the boss. He's gone through a lot of shit.
I can understand why he's getting mad. He must have felt like, okay, he's been discarded by Big Boss and left with something that isn't true. Kind of how we feel when we found out that we weren't actually playing as Big Boss. We kind of felt like we had been discarded. So I can empathize a little with Miller on that.
He's out riding his motorcycle with his leather jacket,
smoking a cigar,
having a great fucking time, while we shoot these diseased soldiers.
Like, there's another part of the story that I don't understand. How does Big Boss establish Foxhound back in the United States? Foxhound...
They just say he did.
Yeah, they just say he did, and then it's done. But they don't explain how he goes about that process. Yeah. You have to remember, Big Boss is wanted by the world. Everybody wants to kill both him and his Phantom, regardless of the situation. So how does he get back to the United States and not only do that, but Foxhound is a special ops organization for the United States Army. How does he throw himself back in, not only into a country that he betrayed, but into a federal military organization that he betrayed as well, and establish his own top secret special... That doesn't make any sense.
Refresh my Metal Gear Solid 1 memory. Foxhound, when Snake arrives on scene, Foxhound is Solid Snake arrives on scene. Liquid is head of Foxhound, right? But he wants Big Boss's body.
I don't know if Liquid was the actual head of Foxhound.
At that point in time, though? Or
if he was just...
a puppet?
I don't even think... I wasn't sure if Liquid was the head of Foxhound or if he was just the leader of his own Foxhound squad. I think it was the second one. He was just the leader of his own Foxhound squad. And they hadn't formally disbanded the Foxhound unit yet. Until after the fact, with the events of Shadow Moses and whatnot. But I don't know. It's
like they left it super open so Konami can make another Metal Gear, maybe? I don't know.
Okay, and here's where I'm going with this. And this is specifically...
They're stretching it out.
I'm not going to buy another Konami product. Because honestly, I feel like Kojima was cheated out of his true vision with this game. Can you agree with that?
I can. Like, I don't know.
It's like what I said. I sent this guy, Luke, a text the other day when I found out about the ending that was cut from the game. It's kind of like baking a pizza. It looks real good and you're real hungry and you're ready to eat it. Taking a slice, taking a bite of it, and it's still doughy and cold in the middle. You feel awkward, it's gross, and you don't want to eat it. That's kind of how it is with, this game.
Yeah.
I don't say you don't want to play it. Go definitely play this. Game's a ton of fun, and I love this game. But at the same time, it's insulting to the people that work so hard on this game.
Yeah.
And
to take out a final boss battle is
Right.
pretty damn big. Because the game literally ends with the last level is pretty much a cutscene. You don't do anything in the hospital.
Now, not
level
only is the last level only cutscene, it's just a replay
of what you already did.
of the prologue that you already did, the very first level. And it's just
I almost skipped the last cutscene because they were all the same.
literally what I did. I remember I was playing this level, and I actually didn't finish the level. I had to go to work at the time. So what I did is, instead of, waiting, around to finish the level, I just pulled out my phone at work and just pulled out the last cutscene that comes up after the level, because what's the point in me finishing the level? There was nothing new introduced throughout that level, nothing different. The only thing that was different about that level is you got to see the last cutscene where Ishmael escapes the ambulance, and it turns out he's Big Boss. There was... It felt...
Yeah. It was thrown together.
Yeah, and the thing about it is I feel like it was just...
I feel like they threw those cutscenes together after.
Right, and I
being
feel like
cut.
it was so jarring, too. Jarring is a good word. Somebody else used the word jarring to describe it. I'm going to use that because you don't see it coming. Well, I mean, that's a lie. I did have my suspicions that Venom Snake was not who he was.
Mm-hmm.
Simply for the fact that in the beginning of the game, they were talking about plastic surgery. They show Snake's face, and they show your face, what it's going to be after that. And then there was just some other, little rumors floating around online saying, oh, Venom Snake isn't really Snake because why does he have the same... And this was a good point that somebody made too. Why did Snake's voice have the same voice as Ishmael at the beginning of the game? That didn't make...
Oh, yeah. Well, that's because I thought it was like... My theory was that it wasn't someone else or a clone or anything like that. My thought that it was like a figment of his imagination trying to push him to escape.
Yeah, and I gave plausible to that idea as well. I had that idea myself.
Because nobody ever saw him. But I guess he was just that stealthy because he's Big Boss.
Right, but at the same time, there were scenes where he actually would interact with other people, and he actually killed a couple people too. Now, you can say that,
Well, a flaming whale also came out of the sky and made a helicopter.
Yeah, it did. There was a lot of crazy shit going on in that first level, but...
It opened so strong!
It has such a strong opening, and it just kind of dropped itself on its face. And I don't hate the ending. I mean, I do, but I don't. Like, I can understand the direction that they are going with, but the fact that they just couldn't take it any further in the direction that they wanted to go with, that's just what really, really kind of hurts the most about this game. And ultimately, we don't have the closure that we're looking for. We want to keep going on. And here's the thing that's frustrating me. The fact that, okay, they took out the Kingdom of the Flies level where you go back, retrieve Eli, and destroy Sahelanthropus.
Awesome name for a level, by the way.
Yeah. That great name for a level, as a matter of fact.
Well, the whole Lord of the Flies intro to Eli was so cool.
Oh, yeah, that's literally what it was. Like, straight reference to Lord of the Flies.
With
But
a pig head.
But, the fact that they took that level out, but they still kept the cutscene where Eli, broke out of Mother Base, stole Sahelanthropus and a couple helicopters with the boy soldier. They still kept that in the game.
They're gonna do that. They're gonna show us that shit, and then let us just rest on it.
That is some really, really dramatic shit to show you something and just, okay, we're not gonna address it later. It's like, why not? Are you kidding me?
Eli just stole your car. Well, You know, kids.
You know, kids.
Stealing
Eli just
those
stole your
giant
giant
metals.
Gundam. Oh, that Eli.
Boys will be boys, I suppose.
My God. Just like, I mean, if you're gonna get rid of that, you might as well have at least taken that cutscene out.
Yeah, like, I was expecting to, like, chase after them and go through that whole sequence, because when that level that they showed where Metal Gear was, like, being held, that looked really cool.
Uh-huh.
I know it was just another Africa level, but it still looked neat.
Yeah. But it just feels like, and there's a lot of new shit they introduced too that just wasn't explained. Like, my biggest thing, they did retcon a lot of information, like Diamond Dogs and MSF. Okay, now they explained MSF, the first Mother Base, got destroyed during the events of MGS Ground Zeroes. So they build Diamond Dogs. Now, you assume, as you're beginning the game, that Diamond Dogs is eventually going to become Outer Heaven, which is the first fortress that Solid Snake intrudes, I guess, for lack of a better term, in the very first Metal Gear. However, they don't do that. They just basically do the switcheroo with Big Boss and Venom Snake, and then they just let Venom Snake run Diamond Dogs, and then later it's explained that Venom Snake goes to Outer Heaven to manage that, and that Venom Snake is killed by Solid Snake. And in Zanzibar Land, that's when Solid Snake kills the real Big Boss. Mm-hmm. But what I am getting at is, what happens to Diamond Dogs? They never address that anywhere else. Does Diamond Dogs get destroyed at some point? Does it evolve into Outer Heaven at some point?
Yeah, we don't hear this name in any other games or anything like that.
Yeah, they don't address what happened to Diamond Dogs. I mean, and Diamond Dogs, who's going to... You can't really forget about a freaking oil platform in the middle of the ocean filled with military commandos. I mean...
Do you think it eventually turns into Big Shell in 2?
No. Because the location's
that
not
happened,
right.
You're right, because that happened in New York.
Yeah, and I think the Diamond Dogs station is out in the Mediterranean Sea or something like that. So... Again, you know, there's some new information that's just
it
not
just doesn't
being
work.
answered. Yeah, it doesn't fit.
Another thing I wanted to bring up was how Cypher did this whole spiel, like or Skullface. I don't even know who did this shit anymore, because all these characters on the sidelines.
Zero made Twin Snakes, Liquid and Solid, right? And then there was Venom. So
if he could if he could hypnotize soldiers to think that they're Snake and be a super soldier like this guy we're playing as is, why is he going through the trouble of doing the clone?
Yeah, that seems like a much more expensive alternative.
Yeah. Well, we can't just get rid of him. Let's see what happens. But we don't know what happens.
Well, then again, there's a lot of plastic surgery involved too, so who knows what's going on with that.
Yeah. It could be anything. The Metal Gear universe certainly has a lot of complications.
There's a lot more plot holes now than there once was when this game came out. This kind of screwed the pooch on a lot of it.
There were so many things I wanted to see in this Metal Gear game. I wanted to see, like, some dark things, really. Just things that we know happened that we didn't... Like, Liquid killing, Eli killing Miller.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what age they both are when it happens, but I was... Because that's the foggy part, but I was hoping it'd be resolved, and it could be a very dramatic scene of killing Snake's best friend, and that's what causes him to banish Eli or whatever.
Well, they explained that...
But no, he just runs away.
That event happened during the events of MGS1.
Okay, so it was like a really recent thing.
Yeah, that happened like 2004, 2005 of MGS1. And then Liquid Snake poses as Miller from there. But the thing that I really wanted to see, and I'm a big Solid Snake fanboy, I wanted to see a young Solid Snake. You got to see a young Liquid Snake. And I almost feel like they may have gone in that direction, because if you watch the King of the Flies, the whole cutscenes, there's an ending where it shows the Statue of Liberty in the background, the backdrop, and then New York.
He would be in the U.S.
Yeah.
Solid Snake would.
They even said in the truth records that David is somewhere in the U.S. So you're thinking about it, and you're like, okay, and you see the Statue of Liberty, and you see the backdrop of New York in the background, but it's still playing as a cutscene. you see the credits start to roll, Hideo Kojima, and then it just cuts out. And you don't see anything beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
So I was starting to think, well, were they possibly going to show David or Solid Snake, being a young rapscallion in New York or something like that? Or were they just going to kind of leave it at that? And that's something that I just wish, was finished, that they did answer upon. And
mm-hmm. Just wait. In a couple years, we're going to see a trailer for a new game. Okay? It's going to be someone sneaking along in a snowy area. Okay?
Where are
Hear
you going
me out
with this?
here. It's going to be Metal Gear Solid 6, Solid Snake's Escape from New York in the wintertime.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I didn't know where I was going with that joke. Alluding to, it's going to be a new Metal Gear game where you play a Solid Snake, but it's going to be a little kid Solid Snake. That's the thing. It's like they're leaving it open to fit another piece of the puzzle into the Metal Gear timeline, which it feels like this one really was going to be the last one because of everything.
They could. They very well could. But here's the thing. Okay, so MGSV happens in 1984, and the first Metal Gear happens in 1995. So there's about an 11-year gap there. They could possibly fit something in between there, just kind of in the paper-thin wedge of that. But it's
a stretch.
It's kind of a stretch for the story, for everything that's kind of already transpired in Metal Gear Solid V.
It's normal for Metal Gear to throw a new game completely at a random spot in the timeline.
Yeah.
And that part's okay.
And I mean, MGS Portable Ops and Peace Walker only were about 4 years apart. MGS Portable Ops happened in 1970 with the San Geronimo incident, and Metal Gear Peace Walker happened in 1974. So, I mean, they could very well possibly do that. But given the fact that as incomplete as MGS-V is, they would really need to go back and complete and fill in the gaps in MGS-V before they could move any further.
Yeah, it's...
Because, again, I feel like if they tried to introduce a new game in between the time slot, they'd just be retconning even more shit that wasn't explained, or was supposed to be explained in the time period in between V and original Metal Gear.
If they're going to make more Metal Gears, I'm still psyched for more Metal Gears. If Kojima wasn't leaving. Kojima was leaving, it was like, oh shit, this really is the last Metal Gear. We're going to get... obviously he'd be under a lot of pressure. I'm going to get fired after I make my last awesome game.
Mm-hmm.
But or he quit. I don't know what the fucking story is, but it's just...
Let's talk about this for a second. Okay, so there's a lot of rumors going on. Supposedly, one reporter said that Kojima had packed his shit and gone from Konami on October 9th, which is about roughly almost 2 weeks ago.
Uh-huh.
But granted, there was another report happened, I think it's pretty recent. I think it's either a couple days old or maybe a couple days to a week.
Kojima's on vacation.
Yeah, where they're trying to say Kojima's on vacation. Now, this is just loony to say. I mean, why can't a company just confirm whether or not... I mean, maybe it is true. Maybe he is on vacation. That's Konami's way of confirming. But given in light of everything that's been going on at Konami, with everything from having cameras, stationed around the company, to public shaming employees, why is everything seeming so cloak and dagger around?
Because,
where
Nick,
Kojima is.
The Kojima that quit is the real Kojima. That was plastic surgery Kojima, meant to put on a show for everyone, while the real Kojima stayed behind and made Metal Gear 6 and Metal Gear Rising 2.
You figured it out, haven't you? I am the real Kojima.
I Kojima'd all of you. Silent Hill's coming out. Are you psyched? See, new Metal Gear, cool and all. But if that fucking PT, man, if he would have made that game, that would have been the best horror game of all time.
It would have been the best. And here's the thing.
That's the Kojima game I would want to buy.
Here's where I give even more skepticism to Konami's statement about Kojima not leaving the company. If that were true, if he's still listed as an employee or just taking a break or a vacation, why would they scrub the PT trailer off PlayStation Network. That doesn't make any sense either. Wouldn't they want to keep that up to build more hype for marketing of a new game that's possibly coming out?
Maybe the hype was all in the...
Maybe it really was canceled and they were just, trying to get rid of that because they didn't want to let anyone down. But at the same time, why would they want to do that? Wouldn't they just... If it's not coming out, then that's fine, but people would still want to play the trailer. Because the PT, that demo is awesome. One of my favorite demos that I've ever played.
It's a game of its own, I say.
It really is.
It can stand on its own. It's that good.
Yeah, it really is. I mean...
I've played through it as many times as I've played through Journey, and that's like a good 50 times.
Yeah.
No, not 50, but definitely a lot.
I mean, granted, it's a demo, and you can probably beat the whole demo in about an hour and a half, maybe. But
PT, you could probably beat it in like a half hour, maybe
really?
less. It's if you know exactly what to do, you can probably get through it in 15 minutes.
See, this is the problem. I got my PS4 right after they pulled the PT from
the
PSN.
network.
Yeah.
Yeah, like now not everybody can play it.
Yeah, and it's complete and total garbage. So there is just a lot, and I've been searching online just Hideo Kojima. Just wanting to know if he's looking to sign with a different company, different publisher, or if he's just, finally saying, hey, I've made my money, I'm retiring, I'm done making video games, or if he's looking to do something else entirely, and I can't find any news on him anywhere. The most I can find is rumors in the chat rooms and things like that online.
All why the plastic surgery Kojima thing makes sense. He did dress up in bandages. That's the thing. What if we're just getting Kojima again? What if this is all an elaborate plot to lie to the media so that they can make the biggest prank of all time? Alex Hirsch does it all the time. He posts fake spoilers for Gravity Falls on his Twitter sometimes as somebody else. Or on 4chan or whatever, and everybody's like, oh shit, McGucket's the author. And then like a week later, he'll just be laughing and be pointing at the picture he sent on his TV screen. I don't know, because like... I feel like that's somewhat possible, but they can't possibly be smart enough to do it this way because
I feel like
they've lost so much business.
Yeah, I feel like it could be possible that he could have Konami in cahoots with him because he at one point was actually the vice president of Konami. Hideo Kojima was, so he obviously had a lot of muscle within that company. Mm-hmm. So it's possible for him to get the company on board for some sort of elaborate prank, just saying, oh, you think I've been fighting with Konami this entire time, but really I've just been joshing you.
Like, it's like Nintendo...
I don't think I want to say this, I don't think that's likely. I think that is very unlikely that that sort of stuff's going on, because you don't hear about gigantic corporate pranks on the world stage like that. That's unreal.
Like that's like Nintendo getting rid of the Zelda creator. Anuma? What's his name?
Eiji Aonuma?
Yeah. That's like Nintendo getting rid of Eiji Aonuma.
Yeah, well, he wasn't the Zelda creator. Shigeru Miyamoto was the Zelda creator.
See, I don't know anything.
Well, hey, that's fine. But well, no, I see what you're saying, though.
I'm getting confused because of who died recently.
Iwata. Iwata. I can't think of his first name.
That's a shock of its own.
Last name. That is a shocker on its own. But
he made Earthbound, or helped make Earthbound.
Granted, too, you have to think, if, say, Nintendo, Satoru Iwata, I mean, he was a great company president, but I mean, you have to admit, those guys, the CEOs, they're not what's really the driving force behind these games. Nintendo would be nothing without Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yeah.
He made Donkey Kong, Zelda, Mario, of course.
I think did he make Pikmin?
He may have made Pikmin. I
can't
know
remember.
He's made quite a few of Nintendo's hit games. Okay, yeah. I need to use the restroom. You're gonna have to edit that
Snake, where's my costume? The Halloween party starts any minute.
Cause I'm already a demon.
Looks good on you, Snake. So. Where do we go from here?
Well,
I'm trying to think of more. What have we not covered?
I was wanting to cover that Ocelot is not a triple agent in this. Maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. Ocelot and Miller just go and do their own shit.
Yeah.
And Diamond Dogs is left standing, doing its own thing.
Yeah.
It's eventually gonna crumble because what's his name loses his mind. Nobody wants to stick by me anymore because they know I'm not Snake.
Yeah. Well, no. That's not it at all. Everybody sticks by Venom Snake till the very end, till he fucking dies. They just don't ever know. But here's the thing too that. So okay, Zero in one of the tapes with Zero, he was talking to Ocelot about how he's gonna go through hypnosis too, and he's not gonna know that Venom Snake isn't really Big Boss, and so on and so forth. But then there's that conversation between him and Miller at the end of the game where it's like
him and his kids are gonna fight someday, and I'm gonna sit there having a cold one, watching it happen. It's gonna be fun. Come on, dude, it's gonna be fun.
Big Boss can go to hell and shit like that,
And you can go to hell too, until we're done here. You know, we can't be angry at work. That'd be awkward.
There is one thing about that conversation I did think was a nice touch. The fact that they basically said, okay, we're going to pick a clone, and we're going to train the cassette clone.
And I'm not going to fight you directly, but I'm going to fight you indirectly? How does that sound?
And Miller obviously chose Solid Snake, and Ocelot chose...
choose Eli.
Yeah, chose Liquid. So, I mean...
You know, I laughed my fucking ass off when I first heard that. I don't know if there's a tape or that cutscene at the end of the game, but throughout my whole life, I've mispronounced Les Enfants Terribles.
Oh, that...
Or what? And then Ocelot in Metal Gear Solid 5 says, Les Infants Terribles. You never were one for French, were you, Ocelot?
I don't like that pompous foo-foo crap.
I laughed so fucking hard at that line. It's like, I've been saying it that way for years.
Les Enfants Terribles.
Les Infants Terribles.
For the record, I knew it was Les Enfants Terribles because...
See, I didn't even say it right when I was
For whatever reason, the French don't like S's in their speech or whatever, or seem to not like S's in their speech, but, like... I thought that was kind of quirky how Big Boss just corrected him out of the blue. It was like, Les Enfants Terribles.
That's not how you say that.
Oh, something else I did want to talk about how... Okay, so we were talking about earlier about how I knew there wasn't something right with the current Venom Snake.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they were talking about how, at the very beginning of the game, when you're trying to find Miller, and whenever you'd capture guys, you'd try to interrogate them, right? But, of course, they spoke Russian. And Ocelot would come over the intercom like, Big Boss, you don't speak Russian. But your brain kind of stops for a second. You're like, wait a minute. Yes, he does. Big Boss knows 7 different languages. Russian is one of them, along with French, Spanish, etc. So you're kind of like, well, did he just forget how to speak Russian because he suffered from brain damage because of the huge piece of shrapnel sticking out of his head?
We're just like panicking to find
Yeah, we're
things in Metal Gear might get a little like escalated, or it's a giant metal mech that shoots a nuke, but they have somewhat plausible explanations for some things. Yeah. I like the thin line it rides between fantasy and reality.
Yeah, it rides a very thin line between plot.
This one just keeps going into fantasy.
Yeah, and it was becoming more and more difficult for me to believe, especially about this Metal Gear in this one. Okay, so this game takes place in 1984. Now, you don't see a new Metal Gear till 1995, but you look at the 2 Metal Gears, Sahelanthropus, and I think it's called the TX-55 Metal Gear from the original
That one's 95?
Yeah, that one's 95.
Okay.
And you look at the 2, and the old Metal Gear looks like obviously a cartoon because that game came out in, 91 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it had like a cockpit that looked like a helicopter cockpit and stuff. And then you look at the Sahelanthropus, and it looks like a Gundam. And you don't ever see any other Metal Gear nearly as grand as that, aside from Peace Walker.
It's weird. It's the whole untold story thing that we were expecting not to deal with.
Yeah.
Because Sahelanthropus's head and legs kind of look like Rex.
Okay, just wanted to put this out there. They were talking about, in this Metal Gear, I feel like it even contradicted itself, because they were talking about, I wanted to design a Metal Gear that could run an AI, not a pilot, but they made a pilot cockpit for Sahelanthropus to begin with. But the entire time you fight it in this game, it didn't have a pilot. It was just being controlled by
the Psycho Mantis guy.
Yeah, so I don't know, man.
I don't know either. And what about Solidus? We don't hear anything about him
you
either.
don't hear about Solidus at all. Because you're actually...
Clone number 3, that was a perfect clone.
Right, because this is something that we've completely overlooked, actually. I'm glad that you brought up Solidus, because Solidus was primarily active in South Africa during the 80s. That's where
he could have been there.
He could have been there. He could have picked up Raiden. Raiden could have been there.
I was thinking that too. Like, Raiden was Jack the Ripper.
Yeah, he was a child soldier too.
It could have thrown him into this game. This could have had so much juice.
Eli could have even been Raiden, if you think about it.
Yeah, could have been the killer that if they just gave him the name Jack.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that I feel like is just really, really overlooked story-wise. Just...
Even if it didn't have to be a big interactive thing, I just kind of wanted him to throw a couple, Metal Gear Easter eggs in there. Because this game feels like it doesn't have a lot of those things that link to other Metal Gear games. It's trying to stay it feels like its own thing, but it's also like, guys, it is part of the story. See what we did here?
I agree and I disagree at the same time. There are plenty of Metal Gear Easter eggs that kind of link to other Metal Gears, but again, they don't make visual reference of that. You're right.
Well, people's voices are changing all the time. Ocelot's voice has changed, like... I'm just trying to think.
I think they've gone at least through 3 or 4 different voice actors, from like old Ocelot,
young Ocelot, young Ocelot and old Ocelot, I understand.
And more middle-aged Ocelot.
I don't know why there was a middle-aged... Maybe they just couldn't get the voice actor kind of thing, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be that. And I'm still butthurt that Hater wasn't Snake in this game.
Yeah.
I mean...
I still talk like Hater. I'm not going to go back to Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, when I think... I mean, I'm at the point now... I've played MGSV so much. When I think of Snake's voice in MGSV, I think of Sutherland's voice. But when I play any other Metal Gear game, or think of any other Metal Gear game in my head, I think of David Hayter. Now, granted... I'm thinking probably mostly in Kiefer Sutherland's voice now when I think of Snake, because that's the most recent game that I've played. But there's still 4 or 5 other Metal Gear games where he's voiced as Snake. Even more than that, there's 6. There's 3, MGS3, Portable Ops, Peace Walker, MGS, the original MGS.
Wait, who?
2 and 4.
Who voices Big Boss in Metal Gear 4?
Who voices it in Metal Gear 4? Doyle something. I can't remember his name, but he was actually the Fury.
Oh, okay.
In MGS3. And David Hayter even actually made mention of that in an interview. He was like, I was really kind of upset that they didn't have me voice Big Boss at the end of Metal Gear 4. Because I thought that'd be kind of cool to kind of have like Snake having a conversation with himself.
Yeah.
Because they're clones and whatnot, but...
I think 4 is still my favorite. Like... I don't know. It just had a balance for me. It had a... I don't know. I'm going to a new realm now of which Metal Gear is my favorite, but...
Well, this Metal Gear is great too, and...
We're pretty big Metal Gear fans, I'd say.
We've played all of the Metal Gears, and that's why there's such this dissatisfaction. Because they've all been spectacular in their own way. They've all been unique in their own way. And... I played the Metal Gear games out of order. The first Metal Gear game I ever played was MGS2. Then I played MGS4. Then MGS3. Then MGS1.
We literally played it in the same order.
Right.
2, 4, 3, 1.
But if I had to pick a favorite Metal Gear game, it would probably have to be... It'd probably have to be 1, with Peace Walker not far behind. And here's the thing.
1 has the best... 1 is like the first Spider-Man. It's the creation of the heroes. It's the best creation of the hero story arc.
Right. The thing about MGSV obviously reminds me a lot of Peace Walker. And I always kind of said, when I first played Peace Walker, it's like, the biggest downfall with Peace Walker were the controls. Or at least... I had the PSP version. I was playing that on the PSP where you had to aim with the face buttons.
Oh, yeah.
And, switch weapons with the directional buttons. And it wasn't... I wouldn't say it was a difficult game control-wise to play, but it was certainly not the easiest game to play.
That's exactly how the 3DS Metal Gear 3 plays.
Right.
You have to use the face buttons for camera.
Yeah, and it's a bit difficult to play. But I remember thinking, if they could just, clean up the controls a little bit, this would be, like, the greatest game ever, because just a little depth, creativity, and just gameplay value in this, it's great. And that's why I still love MGS5 so much. I'm not going to say it's my favorite Metal Gear, but I am going to say it's like, control-wise, they did everything right.
Yeah.
I felt like they heard that.
At first, when I was first playing Ground Zeroes, I was like, these controls are terrible.
I was skeptical at Ground Zeroes, too.
Now, like, I feel like I can't go back. It was pretty damn fluid.
It's so much more fluid, so much more modernized, and it just makes more sense to play this way than it does to play the original way back in MGS1, MGS2, or MGS3. I still think MGS4 has one of my favorite control sets because it's kind of a mixture of
5 and Classic.
5 and Classic, where you've got all these different weapons, but you can cycle through them the same way you would do in 1.
Mm-hmm.
But it had the same control style where, you'd aim with the directional pad, shoot with the shoulder buttons, things like that.
My favorite part was just being able to equip and unequip by tapping the L2 and R2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could rapidly tap them to... They did that with the D-pad, but
right.
I felt like sometimes it was a little wonky when I was trying to equip and unequip a box or night vision goggles really quick. Because you have to... Here's the thing. In old Metal Gear games, that kind of like... If you hold up that menu, it pauses the game. But with Metal Gear 5, it's all real time.
Yeah.
And that adds to the realism. But in that game, you have to be fucking flawless sometimes to, cycle through your weapons in time to...
You're talking about on this PS4 controller here, where it's like the touchpad, if you will, where it's like, if you say... You have to press this side to actually pause the game, and you have to press the other side.
For the iDroid.
But if you're holding your thumb here on the left side, and then you press this side, it's going to bring up your pause menu instead, and vice versa.
No, that part I understand. I'm just talking about weapon cycling, how it doesn't pause the game.
Mm-hmm.
And...
oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Well, I appreciate that, too.
I appreciate it. Like, I think Dead Space is that way, too, because of the whole horror aspect.
And Resident Evil went in that direction, too, after the 4th game, where you wouldn't pause every time you wanted to switch a weapon or something
monster's
like that.
coming, you better reload quick.
And, I appreciate that, too, because that kind of takes... When you have to pause to change your weapon or change... Anytime you pause, that takes you out of the game for a second, no matter which style of pausing it is. Because if you're not actively playing in real time, you might as well be pausing, even if you're just sorting through inventory or whatnot.
Yeah.
So, I do applaud the fact that they switched almost everything in this game to real time as far as, inventory management goes. But...
Yeah, the graphics are good.
Graphics are good, gameplay's good. I want to play it right now.
I mean, I feel like I wish I had a crazy cool TV to, like... I want to play this game in an IMAX theater.
This game would be fun to play at an IMAX theater. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Like, turning it on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm turning it on. I'm going to play it right now.
Are you dressing up for Halloween this year?
Am I dressing up for Halloween?
You're in the house of cosplay, after all.
Well, I don't know if I'm going to be Spider-Man or Max's power line from the Goofy movie this year. I'm probably going to be the latter, because I've already got that costume made, and we're still kind of working on my Spider-Man costume right now, and Halloween is actually next Saturday, which I am off. I don't know about you.
Next Saturday? I think I'm probably off too. Oh, look, you were right in the middle playing this game we've been talking about.
I'm actually going to abort this mission because I didn't understand.
Your TV is so clear and crisp.
It looks so good, right?
My TV's kind of outdated and blurry. Well, we'll see.
What overall completion are you at right now with this game?
I'm at, I think, 70.
Really?
Yeah. I did a lot of side ops.
Well, that's what I'm gonna start doing too. I've got 19 side ops.
Do you have the unlimited suppressor?
I have not gotten that yet. Have you found Hideo Kojima yet?
Yes.
I found Hideo Kojima just the other night, and I was thoroughly pleased with myself.
Look, I'll come back to Konami if enough people complete that mission.
I wish Kojima was back with Konami. I want it so bad.
Oh, dude, you got a little white wolf with the cheetah print camouflage.
Yeah, man, I'm pimping. Look at that shit.
So wait, what's the cheetah print for?
Makes people think you're an animal or something like that. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Snake is an animal. He eats dead animals.
So what mission you doing now?
What mission am I doing? I'm just gonna do a side op.
Well, let's see. I guess we will end this podcast.
Alright, so
if there's no video footage, then...
Despite Metal Gear's story letting us down, we're gonna say fuck it and play the side ops missions because Metal Gear is still fun as hell. Thanks for listening.
It's still a good game, people.
Play it. Bye.
Have a good day.
Bye.